Welcome back to the RouG Pod. It's your man Hendo here, and today we are going to be previewing the AFC North. With football a mere hours away, I thought I'd bring to you a video detailing to you what I think is the best division in football. There's a possibility that three, can make the playoffs this season, with this being a very competitive division. Each team laying its own claim to being division winners, and I do believe that each team can win. There was a point in time where I thought that Pittsburgh may be the weak link, but after seeing them in preseason, I changed my tune a little bit. So let's check out what I think will happen in the 2023 season when it pertains to the AFC North. So the first team that I'm going to dive into is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think with some of the additions that they made, the maturation of Kenny Pickett and just Mike Tomlin as a head coach, because he is the best coach in this division. Ravens fan or not, truth is truth. So let's take a look and see where Pittsburgh ranked from last season. Last season offensively, the Steelers were 16th in rushing, 24th in passing, and 23rd overall. I think with Kenny Pickett being injured for part of the season, being concussed, and him being a rookie, and Matt Canada not knowing how to utilize him, this led to them being in the lower half of the league in passing. Yeah, I think that this year Kenny Pickett is trusting himself a little bit more. George Pickens is a beast. Just get him the ball. His catch radius is outrageous. And I think instead of waiting for him to get open, he now realizes if I throw the ball at him, he's going to catch it or he's going to knock it down. Now they do have Najee Harris running the ball. Are they overutilizing him? He has the most carries in the NFL since he's been drafted. Now, do I think that all of these rankings will improve this season? I think they will dramatically, especially the passing offense. Seeing them in the preseason, I think that they have taken that next step offensively, and that's something that's going to help them out. Now, defensively, they rank 9th against the run, 19th versus the pass, and 13th overall. I'm not sure what they're going to do with their cornerback situation. I know they added Patrick Peterson, but is he going to help, being that he is at the advanced stage of his career? TJ Watt being healthy, that played a big part in it, because he missed a few games getting injured in the first game. But throughout history, Pittsburgh has been a dominant defensive team. They started off 2-6. All credit to Mike Tomlin that they finished 9-8. This man just does not have losing seasons. And unlike many people predicting this season, I don't think that it's going to happen. So let's take a look into some of the offseason transactions. All right, so during the offseason, the Steelers picked up cornerback, the aforementioned Patrick Peterson. Like I said, I don't know how much he has left in the tank, but if he does, he may provide some sort of an upgrade from their defensive backfield. Two of the positions that the Steelers struggled with last season was cornerback and offensive line. They also added Allen Robinson to an already deep wide receiving core. I don't know how much Allen Robinson has left in the tank, but he should provide some production as the number 3 receiver. And they added linebacker Quan Alexander. He is another player that may be past his prime, but he was brought in to replace the departed Miles Jack, who did not live up to expectations. So now let's take a look into the Steelers 2023 NFL Draft. So in the first round, the Steelers selected Broderick Jones from Georgia. I think that he's going to help solidify that offensive line, because that has been a problem of contention with the Steelers for a few seasons. And also, they got one of the steals in the draft, bringing home one of their own, Joey Porter Jr., the cornerback from Penn State. I believe Joey Porter should have been a first-round pick, but he went home to the Steelers, and him, along with Patrick Peterson, should provide an upgrade from what the Steelers had last season. Also in the third round, they brought in Darnell Washington, tight end from Georgia. I don't know how well his knees are going to hold up, but from what I'm hearing throughout the preseason, he has played pretty well, and him alongside Pat Freiermuth should give this tight end room a boost. Next up, we have the Cleveland Browns. Now, this is one team that I just feel like every year they have a very talented roster. They just don't have the coach, nor sometimes do they have the quarterback to actually get over that hump. Now, this offseason, Deshaun Watson has been able to participate fully, and he's been getting the reps that he's needed, being that he was out of football for almost 2 years, came back and played the last 6 games. Now, he did not look like the Deshaun Watson of old, but I do think eventually he will round into form. But will that be enough to get them through this tough division? Because hands down, from top to bottom, this is one division where any team can win on any given Sunday. But for me, there are two X factors for the Cleveland Browns, and that would be one, Nick Chubb. He has to be my favorite running back in the NFL. Quiet dude, goes about his business. You turn around, he has 1,500 yards, and you would never know it. He just goes in, does the damn thing, and gets off the field. He's a quiet superstar, and I think that he's the reason that they really have a chance. Now, Deshaun Watson adds a different dimension, which will open up lanes for Nick Chubb. But we shall see. The other X factors, of course, Myles Garrett. He is always in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. I just think that Myles Garrett is one of the dominant forces in the NFL. And if he had not gotten hurt last season, things may have gone a little bit differently. Now let's look into what the Cleveland Browns did last season. Offensively last season, the Browns ranked 6th in rushing, 22nd in passing, and 14th overall. And once again, Nick Chubb dominating the ground game. I know they lost Kareem Hunt, but I do think that Nick Chubb can shoulder the load going forward. Now, they had Jacoby Brissett play quarterback for most of the season. He is not the passer that Deshaun Watson is. Therefore, that's where you get your 22nd ranking. I think all of this will improve. The Browns have added some more offensive weapons, and hopefully this is the season that David Njoku lives up to his first round projections. I think that he and Deshaun have a rapport. This may be a coming out party. I just think offensively, the Cleveland Browns should be a lot better. Year in and year out, they always have a top 10 offensive line. So we shall see if Kevin Stefanski can put this all together. Now, defensively, the Browns came in 25th versus the run, 5th against the pass, and 14th overall. Defensively, I just think with Myles Garrett being hurt and Jadeveon Clowney not living up to expectations and actually being benched for the latter part of the season hurt their defensive ranking. Now, as far as versus the pass, Denzel Ward to me is one of the best cornerbacks in the league. I know there's been some turnaround. They lost a safety. They've lost a couple of corners. But I think that they can and they will retool. With a healthy Myles Garrett and the addition of Zadarius Smith, I think defensively, this is going to be a tough team. Last season, the Browns finished 7-10. I do not believe the Browns will have another losing season unless things fall apart once again. Sometimes I know that it's rough being a Cleveland fan because you look at the roster year in and year out and think, this may be the year, but somehow, some way, they always find room for failure. But you can't be losers forever, can you? Let us now look at the transactions from this past offseason. They also traded for Elijah Moore from the New York Jets to give them more power on the offensive end. And to me, their biggest addition is defensive end Zadarius Smith. Us Ravens fans know him very well. He played his first 4 seasons in Baltimore, then went on to dominate for Green Bay and Minnesota. I think him opposite Myles Garrett, they're going to provide a dominant pass rush. And I know he's going to be motivated to play against his former team. Some of the key departures are Jadeveon Clowney, which I think Zadarius was a replacement for. Jadeveon just wasn't living up, nor was he flourishing in the Joe Woods system. And Joe Woods has been replaced as defensive coordinator. They also lost safety John Johnson. So I think with their key departures, they adequately replaced them with better players. Well, now we jump into what the Cleveland Browns did in the 2023 draft to upgrade this team. Browns did not have a first-round pick for another season because of the Deshaun Watson trade, but they did in the 3rd round pick up wide receiver Cedric Tillman out of Tennessee. I think he's going to go quite nicely with Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, and Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think that just gives Deshaun another weapon to work with. He's a big kid. I think that he may not show impact this season, but in the upcoming future, I think that he will become a key factor. Also, DeJuan Jones, the tackle out of Ohio State, I think he's going to help with that offensive line. But I think Dorian Thompson-Robinson, a QB out of UCLA, was an excellent pickup. He looked outstanding during the preseason. So if anything happens to Deshaun Watson, I think they may have a suitable replacement to play a few games, come in and win a game or two till Deshaun recovers or whatever they need to do or whatever direction that they're going to go in. The Browns draft was pretty decent to me, especially since they didn't have a first nor a 2nd round pick. I think these picks weren't necessarily for this year. I think these were picks for the foreseeable future and helping them going forward. The question is, will they utilize what they have, or will the Browns be browning? To be determined. Now, defensively, Cleveland has always been a strong team. Even if the offense has not been up to par, defensively, they can shut teams down, keep it low-scoring games. I just think this season, their offense is going to pick up. And this may be the season that we see the turnaround for the Cleveland Browns as actual contenders in the AFC North. Since the AFC North has been formed, Cleveland is the only team that has not won a division title. Now, they brought in Deshaun Watson to come change this. Will the $235 million man change all of this? We do not know. Well, not yet anyway. All right, 2 more teams left. And the team that I chose for second place in the division is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, this was a tough one for me, trying to choose between the Ravens and the Bengals for AFC North supremacy, but I just think that with the injury to Joe Burrow, that was the tipping point for me. Now, I know that he says he's ready to play week 1. I'm not for certain. Is this injury going to linger? Is it going to hamper him throughout the season? Is he going to be cognizant of it and favor his leg? And that kind of hurts what he does on the field because he's playing not to get hurt. Cincinnati, to me, just is one of those upper echelon teams. They beat the Chiefs. They dominated the Bills. I think that they show that they belong. And to me, most importantly, I think that the Bengals make moves that make sense. They have deficiencies on their team and they attack them. They try to do whatever they can to make their team better. It's just that through injuries, those are some of the things that have derailed this team for the past few seasons. Now, last season, the Bengals made the playoffs. They beat the Baltimore Ravens. Fluky play. They went and whipped up on the Bills in the snow. I mean, they ran all over them like they were playing against children. But of course, all the injuries that they had on the offensive line, they just could not overcome that. They brought in Lyle Collins last season. He got injured. They brought in Alex Kappa. He got injured. They brought in Ted Karras. He got injured. So they were down to some of their 3rd and 4th string offensive linemen, and I think that hurt them in their playoff run. They almost beat the Chiefs, like they took it down to the wire, except for a bonehead play. So I think that there's a possibility that the Bengals could end up somewhere sniffing around the AFC Championship once again. I do not doubt them. I do not take them for granted. This is one of the better teams in the NFL, and they will give the Ravens a run for their money for the AFC North title. Let's look at last season's rankings for the Cincinnati Bengals. So looking at the Bengals from last season, they were down offensively. Joe Mixon had a down year. They were 29th in rushing, 5th in passing, and 8th overall. Now, of course, you all expect them to be high in passing with the wide receivers that they deploy and Joe Burrow running the show. I just think this season, especially with a better offensive line, that they will pick this rushing game up, which is not their strong suit, but they can run the ball when needed. Joe Mixon is still one of the better backs in the league. I just think the injuries took its toll. I don't think that they used him right, but we'll see for this upcoming season. Now, defensively, this was a surprise to me. I knew that the Bengals were decent, but I didn't know that they were actually 7th against the run, 23rd against the pass. Now, sometimes you have additions by subtractions, and I hate to say it, them letting go or finally moving on from Eli Apple is going to bear fruit, because anytime you let a Baltimore Ravens wide receiver just beat you clean and you're 5 yards behind them, you just ain't it. So they were 16th overall defensively, yardage wise. And I think with some of the additions that they brought in, I think with them gelling together, and if this team can stay healthy, I think they will rise. Last season, they finished the year 12-4, with the one game versus the Bills being canceled. So that's what gave them that 12-4 record. Will they be able to duplicate this success? We shall see. Like I said, last season was a problematic area for them in the offensive line. So let's see what additions that they've made to try to improve this team. Their most prized addition for the 2023 offseason had to be former Raven, former Chief, left tackle Orlando Brown Jr. Like I said, Lyle Collins got injured last season. I'm not sure that he's even ready for this season. I thought that he was one of the better offensive linemen, but his health being a concern, they had to shore it up. They had to stop the hits on Joe Burrow. As great as Joe Burrow is, he gets sacked entirely too much. So I think bringing him in and with a healthy Kappa, Karras, this offensive line will gel and protect Joe Burrow. I think this is one of the major additions throughout the whole offseason for a team. Because like I said, the Bengals see a deficiency and they address it, unlike a lot of teams out there. They also brought in cornerback Sidney Jones to kind of take the place of Eli Apple. They brought in Irv Smith Jr. He is the replacement for Hayden Hurst. Now, will he live up to his potential? He has not so far and has bounced around the league. Tight end is an area that the Bengals don't really have to utilize, being that they have a possible 3 number 1 wide receivers. They also brought in Nick Scott from the LA Rams because they lost all-pro, all-world safety Jesse Bates to the Atlanta Falcons. They franchise tagged him and let him walk. They let Von Bell go to the Carolina Panthers, just as well as they did Hayden Hurst. Now, one of the bigger departures that I see is going to be Samaje Perine. Now, while Joe Mixon struggled, Samaje came in and he gave that work. He was their goal line back. He got their tough yardage. Now, will they find a replacement for him? All in all, I think they did what they needed to do during the offseason because their team wasn't that bad to start off with. They just had issues in the secondary and the offensive line. Now, let's take a look at what the Bengals did in the draft. First round, they took Miles Murphy, edge out of Clemson, to help with the pass rush. They need someone opposite of Trey Hendrickson to kind of apply that pressure. They drafted in the second round DJ Turner, cornerback from Michigan, once again showing up an area of need. They got safety Jordan Battle from Alabama in the third round. They took Charlie Jones, wide receiver, in the fourth, and they also took a wide receiver in the sixth. Don't think that was something that was needed, but hey, sometimes when you have a decent team, you have the availability to have luxury picks and guys you can stash away. Are they trying to move away from Tyler Boyd? It is not known yet. Overall, I think they had a decent draft. They shored up some areas of concern. They have some young players infused into their defense, which was one of the reasons why I considered them to winning the division. But once again, that Joe Burrow injury kind of gave me pause as to actually giving them the division title. Last but definitely not least will be, in my opinion, the division winner, the Baltimore Ravens. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, you're a homer, you're just picking your favorite team. No, I truly believe this is the season that the Ravens put everything together and finally make that long playoff push. Lamar Jackson signing his 5-year deal. He is securing his contract. That is some drama that's out of the way. The Ravens brought in some key offensive weapons. Most importantly to me, they brought in offensive coordinator Todd Monken, finally letting go of Greg Roman. Now, the only real concerns that I do have for the Ravens are their pass rush, being that they let Justin Houston go, Jason Pierre-Paul, and they are relying on the young guys to come in and carry this team. We need the pass rush to pick up because right now, defensively in the backfield with the cornerback situation, we don't know what's going on. Marlon Humphrey just came off surgery. They say that he has a possibility of playing week 1, but being that he's been off, he's had surgery, how effective will he be? How much can he play? Now, all of the cornerbacks behind Marlon Humphrey would have issues starting for any team in the NFL. So you don't have an elite pass rush. You don't even have a passable pass rush that we know of so far, and you have weak cornerback play. That is a real cause for concern. But being that this is an offensive league and the Ravens finally have put offensive pieces into the puzzle, the Ravens may have to outscore opponents until that defense can round into form, find some players, make some trades, maybe somebody steps up. Hopefully this year it's not going to be put all on Lamar's shoulders to carry this team. So let's take a look back into what the Ravens did this past season. Offensively, the Ravens ranked second in rushing, 26th in passing, and 16th overall. Now, that 28th in passing had a lot to do with Lamar Jackson being out, the offensive scheme, Rashad Bateman being injured. There were just a myriad of things that contributed to the passing being so low. With us having a new offensive coordinator and bringing in weapons, real weapons, I think that the Ravens passing will go up. Now, will the rushing suffer? I think so, because I think that this team will pass so much more than it has in any time during Lamar's career with Ravens, that the rushing will go down. Will they still be a top 10 rushing team? I believe so. If the Ravens can just bring that passing up to at least midway, it bodes well for this team going forward. Now, defensively, the Ravens were third against the rush, 26th against the pass. They were 9th overall, and this is pertaining to yards. Now, I know yards are a big stat for a lot of people, but the Ravens were third defensively when it comes to points against. So they were the third scoring defense in the NFL. Hopefully they can keep that up, but we do need to lessen the passing yards. Marcus Williams missed a few games. Marcus Peters was coming back off of an injury. Just certain things were unsettled. With Mike McDonald having another year under his belt, to kind of get acclimated to being a defensive coordinator. Hopefully, he can put in a few wrinkles to mask the deficiencies of this team right now. Last season, the Ravens finished 10-7, making the playoffs, losing in the wild card round versus the Cincinnati Bengals off of Tyler Huntley's missed slam dunk. Don't know why this man went vertical instead of horizontal and swore he scored a touchdown, but that effectively ended the game. So the Ravens made the playoffs once again, but went out with another first-round defeat. Will this be the season that the Ravens actually win more than one playoff game? Can they make a deep playoff run? We shall see. I believe so, but once again, all we're doing is analyzing off of paper. We need to see games played. On paper, the Ravens look dynamic. They look dominant, but health, coaching, situation awareness, all these things play a key factor, so we'll see going forward. Now, let's take a look at what the Ravens did during the offseason. Some of the key additions for the Baltimore Ravens is, yes, I put it there, quarterback Lamar Jackson. We no longer have to speculate. Are they going to sign him long-term? Do they believe in him? Lamar Jackson signed a 5-year, $260 million contract, so he will be with the team for the foreseeable future. I think with the weight of that being off of his shoulders, he can now play free, not worry about injury, and be the Lamar Jackson that we know. Another big addition had to have been Odell Beckham Jr., giving Lamar Jackson possibly his first legitimate number one wide receiver. Also brought in wide receiver Nelson Agholor. Now, I know a lot of people are down on Nelson Agholor because he's just not that superstar free agent, that big splash signing that a lot of people wanted. But I do think that Nelson Agholor is solid, especially for being wide receiver 4. He is going to help out more than people believe. Also, the Ravens brought in cornerback RouG. He is going to take over the cornerback 2 position, possibly CB1, while Marlon Humphrey is out. We need all the bodies that we can get right now because we have slim pickings at the cornerback position. Some of the key departures, Calais Campbell, I think we're going to miss his leadership. Don't think we're going to miss his play on the field versus his pay. His production didn't match what we were paying him, so they let him move on. They also traded away safety Chuck Clark to the New York Jets, who unfortunately got injured before training camp started. Also, to me, one of the biggest losses has been Marcus Peters. We are struggling mightily to replace him in Justin Houston. We lost out on 9.5 sacks that we just let walk out the door over a few dollars. And I get it, every dollar counts because the Ravens right now are strapped for cash. But when you have a young core of pass rushers that have not proven anything in the NFL, you get bodies that you know will be productive. Also, I left off the list Jadeveon Clowney. I think he may be a key addition. I think he's going to be a rotational player. I don't think that he's going to be somebody that's going to come in and dominate, but I do think that he has his place. Right now, we have David Ojabo starting over him. Don't know how long that's going to last. It is an insurance policy just in case Ojabo does not work out. Overall, I think that the Ravens had a decent offseason, bringing in some talent. I don't think that they let go of too much. I'm hurt over the Marcus Peters loss, and I do think that we should have re-signed Justin Houston. He was waiting. He was both of them. They were out there waiting for us to bring him back, and the Ravens was like, nah, we are going in a different direction. Pass rush and cornerback play are going to determine a lot this upcoming season for the Ravens. Hopefully, it is not to the detriment and the reason that they don't make it or win in the playoffs. So let's take a look now at what the Ravens did in 2023 NFL Draft. In the first round, the Ravens selected Zay Flowers, wide receiver from Boston College. At the time, a lot of people weren't happy with this draft pick. They believed that we should have gone after a cornerback, being that we needed one desperately. But I think after seeing him in camp in the preseason, this young man is going to be very special. You pair him with Odell, you pair him with Rashad Bateman, if healthy, and this gives this passing attack another weapon that you have to account for. Third round, they drafted Trenton Simpson, who has not really shown much throughout the preseason. He is supposed to be Patrick Queen's replacement in waiting. Hopefully, we will see improvement from him throughout the season. Round 4, Tavius Robinson, another guy. 5th round, Kyu Blue Kelly, cut before the season started. Wasted draft picks. Then we got Salah and an injured Andrew Voorhees. So to me, the only pick that really matters is the Zay Flowers pick because I think he's the only guy that's going to contribute throughout the season. All in all, the division shapes up like this. The Ravens are going to finish 13-4. The Bengals are going to be 12-5. Browns and Steelers are going to tie for third at 10-7. Appreciate you for hanging out with me, listening to my AFC North preview. Let me know in the comment section what you believe or how you believe this division is going to shake out. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe on a notification so you know when I bring out another video, because the season is beginning tonight. So these videos are going to be coming fast and furious. 10, 11, 12, whatever number they're up to right now. Appreciate you guys. See y'all next time. It's your boy.